Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, April 14th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma, in for Maya Trabulsi. Baseball is back in San Diego. While fans are certainly happy, downtown businesses are also welcoming the crowds. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live near Petco Park with more. Matt?
Amitha, it's a big day. Opening day is finally back, and as you can see behind me, fans are pouring into downtown for some Padres baseball. I want to show you behind me. This is the scene as people are just trying to get inside here as we're just minutes away. They're going through the lineup before the game starts here. Now, I want to show you earlier in the day, there was a block party that kicked off all the festivities today. There's a lot of excitement in the air as we saw lots of Padres swag out there, Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado jerseys. But fans, they weren't sure if this day would come at all. There was a months-long lockout that threatened the whole entire season, but that's all behind us now, and it's now time to play ball. The starting pitcher for this evening's game is San Diego's own Joe Musgrove. He's from the East County, El Cajon more specifically, and he threw the first no-hitter in Padres history last year. Needless to say, everyone is fired up for the return of Padres baseball.
Super excited. I mean, from what happened last year with the no-hitter and just being from San Diego, I mean, it's special, and we're just here to support them and obviously our team, so we're excited.
This is our first year. We became #1 fans last year. We all caught the bug, and it's just been go time ever since, so we wouldn't miss this for the world.
When you say you caught the bug, how did you guys catch the bug? What do you mean?
I took my wife to a game, and she became a fan, and then from there, it was on.
It's been a couple of years since we've been able to have the block parties down here, so it's definitely bringing down more crowd. This year, opposed to the last 2 years, you can see the difference in crowds. You see a lot more foot traffic, which we're used to. That's why we're here at this type of location. And yeah, just it's one of our biggest days of the year.
Yeah, you know, just like those fans, we heard from business owners that they too were unsure if a season was going to happen at all this year. But as we come out back to you live down here, there is a lot of excitement for opening day as they're going through the national anthem right now. Tonight's game against the Atlanta Braves, it kicks off in just a few minutes here. Live from Petco Park, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Thousands of people are using public transportation to get to the Padres home opener. MTS says it has stepped up security in response to a shooting on a subway train in New York this week. The transit company wants riders on buses and trolleys to know that it is taking every precaution.
Reason as to why these incidents happen or where they happen, but we do have a very strong security presence on our entire system, including well over 200 personnel who will be on the system, making sure that they're the eyes and ears keeping track of what's happening.
MTS is telling riders to call 911 in case of an emergency. Riders can also contact the MTS dispatch team for issues of harassment, suspicious or illegal behavior. $1.4 billion in military aid from the United States and the European Union is headed for Ukraine. As Isabel Rosales reports, it comes as the country braces for a major Russian attack.
Heavy fighting, an immeasurable human loss, now 50 days into this war. Tearful families look on as crews search for bodies near Kyiv.
Дочка не знає, що мами ще немає. Як дочки, я буду казати, що мами немає, папи немає. Я не знаю, що мені робити, люди добрі.
The UN estimates nearly 2,000 civilians have been killed in Ukraine, warning the actual figures are likely considerably higher. The propaganda unending. Alicia Simonova recounts what her parents told her as she evacuated her daughter from their house in Crimea, a longtime Russian-occupied area.
Russia is helping Ukraine to get rid of Nazi groups, and this is not a war. It was devastating to hear it from your own parents.
Conflicting claims about one of the Russian Navy's most important warships. The Kremlin claims sailors evacuated after a fire, but Ukraine says its missile attack caused it.
It's a big blow to Russia. This is their flagship.
The Moskova was behind this viral moment in the Black Sea soon after Russia invaded Ukraine. On the way to Ukraine, more Javelin missiles, drones, and helicopters. The Pentagon hopes it could make a difference in the critical Donbas region.
We're moving as aggressively as we can to source all those items, get our hands on that material.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
A second booster shot increases immunity against COVID infection as well as protecting against severe illness and hospitalization. That's the finding of a large study out of Israel focusing on people over the age of 60. The results support the CDC recommendation that people over 50 should get an additional booster. Dr. Christian Raymer sits on San Diego County's Vaccine Clinical Advisory Group. He says a fourth shot is targeted at older populations and the immunocompromised, but everyone can benefit from a third shot.
First booster actually provides even more protection than the second booster relatively. So we get a 90% reduction in death from the third booster, or we did at least. And so first of all, we should focus on people who have not gotten their third shot or their first booster in order to get to those who need their second one.
San Diego County reported the second pediatric death of the pandemic. A 15-year-old girl with underlying medical conditions. She had not been vaccinated. Kids 5 to 11 may soon be eligible for a booster shot. As Mandy Gaither reports, Pfizer is planning to submit for emergency use authorization.
In just released data, Pfizer and BioNTech say kids 5 to 11 who took part in a clinical trial testing a third dose of COVID-19 vaccine had a 36-fold increase in antibodies against Omicron at least 6 months after their second shot. The companies say the boosters were well tolerated with no new safety signals and plan to request FDA authorization in the coming days.
People 12 and older. To be up to date on your vaccines would include a booster. That hasn't been the case for 5 to 11-year-olds because there is no authorized booster yet for that age group. This may change that.
During the Omicron surge, studies from New York and the CDC found the effectiveness of Pfizer's vaccine in this age group fell from 68% to about 12% against COVID-19 infection. But 2 doses still protected against severe illness leading to hospitalization.
If somebody is high risk, in particular in this age group, has some pre-existing condition and there's a lot of concern, then I think that this is going to be something that is going to be really important.
In the U.S., new COVID-19 cases are trending up in about half of states, but hospitalizations are still near the lowest on record despite an uptick in some Northeast states, leading some places to relax restrictions. But top U.S. health officials say remaining vigilant is still key.
In that respect, you wouldn't call it a crisis, but you don't want to forget about it because we know what variants can do.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Mesa College has a beautiful new outdoor space tonight that will benefit students and the community. The ribbon was cut this morning for the grand opening of the campus quadrangle, which has been expanded and redesigned. The San Diego Community College District used voter-approved bond money to demolish older buildings and create a wide-open clearing in the heart of the Linda Vista campus. It's the last of several redevelopment projects that have brought new life to Mesa.
San Diego having an outdoor space to study is everything, and so when we imagined this space, it was a way for us to have students be in the center of campus and to have celebrations and all sorts of wonderful places to celebrate all things that happen in Mesa.
The new quadrangle leads to several of the college's support centers that help students who are former foster children, military veterans, and facing food or housing insecurity. The city of San Diego has yet another plan to finally link the airport to mass transit. Sandec, the planning agency leading the project, says a potential Grand Central terminal at the Nave Wharf site in Old Town is no longer an option. A new plan would start with a new transit station at the Port of San Diego headquarters that would include an automated people mover to the airport. Mayor Todd Gloria talked with KPBS Midday Edition about the timeline to get this done.
And we think that with the right plan, we can get that done relatively soon, recognizing that projects of this size often take decades. We hope to do this in a matter of years.
A second, more ambitious project under consideration is to turn the City Hall complex downtown into something that resembles the original Grand Central idea. That's expected to take much longer to complete than the Port of San Diego station. The annual dredging of the harbor in Oceanside has started, and as KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen shows us, city officials are reminding people to steer clear of the heavy machinery on the beach.
Crews were lining up the pipes this afternoon to get ready to dredge the Oceanside Harbor. It's an annual event where sand from the harbor's mouth is used to replenish the city's beaches. Bill Curtis is an Oceanside lifeguard captain.
The residents they welcome this project every year. It's to maintain the harbor entrance, keep it open, so the Army Corps and the Navy cooperate together to keep that happening.
The sand buildup in the harbor makes it hard for ships to safely move in and out. That sand will be used to replenish beaches from North Coast Village to Oceanside Pier in the south. The work is slated for 6 to 8 weeks, weather permitting.
Depending on the quantity that's identified and how much we can get down here, will be determined on how far south we can move the pipe.
Right now, crews are just laying down the pipes. The actual dredging doesn't start until next week. But Curtis wants residents to be aware and stay safe around the dredge equipment.
But the big safety concern here is to stay away from the equipment and stay outside the orange coned off areas.
What he doesn't want is a repeat of the 2020 incident where a woman was killed by dredging equipment while sleeping on the beach. If everything goes according to plans, the pipes and heavy machinery will be off the beach in time for Memorial Day. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
We're going to see that return of a marine layer over the next couple of days. So introducing a few more clouds into our forecast, but the real story is managing to keep all the stormy weather to the north. So we will stay quiet in through next week. It will be a little bit warmer by the time we get to the end of the weekend. Our setup here for the next few hours does allow temperatures to fall off back to the mid-50s. Again, introducing a few more of those marine clouds, so we're noticing the coast here a bit cloudier. Chula Vista being one of those spots, 53 for the low there. Borrego Springs, at least a few clouds, temperatures near 55 for the low. Your Friday, keeping things dry, mild. Again, onshore flow coming in with some of that marine layer. Overall, though, things remain more or less the same here as the numbers are still in the mid-60s. 67 for the high as you head towards Escondido, 71 for the day, and making it to Mount Laguna, temperatures there in the mid-50s for the afternoon. Again, all of us dealing with kind of marine layer breaking off into the later part of the day. Your Saturday, same pattern here. As the stormy weather breaks out across central northern California, we will not get in on any of that activity. We miss out on all of the moisture from it, but again, keeping the clouds as we start off the weekend here with some sunshine returning through the afternoon. Notice the next few days do get back into the 70s or close to it, upper 60s for highs towards the coast, not really changing too much. Our inland communities, though, those numbers, they go up heading into Sunday and Monday. We're back into the lower to mid 70s here, so a little bit warmer as we get rid of some of that marine layer, but again, keeping that marine layer for tomorrow and Saturday. Mountain communities here, at least some clouds for you to start things off. Temperatures in the 50s, then climbing back into the 60s for Sunday and Monday. A little bit breezy on Monday before we cool down again, and for the desert communities back towards the 90s for Sunday and Monday. That's going to be our warm stretch here. Before that, though, holding on to the mid-80s with a few of those clouds in the morning. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
California's first in the nation task force on reparations is wrapping up a two-day meeting. The summit was held at the Third Baptist Church, a historic black church in San Francisco. The task force is looking at how African Americans have been harmed by slavery and systemic racism to help state officials decide how to respond and what reparations should be made. Advocates say compensation could include free college, housing assistance, and grants to churches and organizations.
It's not as simple as just giving a check. We have to also look at reconstructing systems so that we have equality of opportunity. There's so much that goes into the concept of reparation.
In a close vote last month, the task force chose to limit any possible reparations to only descendants of slaves and not all of the 2.6 million black people in the state. The task force will hold traveling meetings and listening sessions across California.
In the Vaz tonight on the NewsHour, White House COVID response coordinator Dr. Ashish Jha on the latest uptick in coronavirus cases in the U.S. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Shortages continue to plague grocery stores. Now, the latest victims appear to be cat food and canned beer. Jen Sullivan takes a look at the reasons why and how companies are working through the supply issues.
Aluminum is in short supply, and that's leading to shortages in both the cat food aisle and at your local brewery.
We are actually having aluminum demand spikes within the United States and around the world.
Say Ken Allschool, assistant professor of supply chain management from the University of South Florida, says we can blame labor shortages, the pandemic, and the ongoing supply chain crisis. Production isn't meeting up with demand, and China's pollution crackdown is driving aluminum manufacturing even further.
Basically, decrease the production by approximately 10 to 20% worldwide.
Allschool says pet adoptions soared during the pandemic and are still strong, raising that demand for cat food. And as some retailers take measures to eliminate aluminum packaging, aluminum isn't the only problem cat food sellers are dealing with.
We don't have enough meat products that go into that cat food. And the main reason really for this is our workforce.
The aluminum shortage and price increases are also having a major impact on small breweries across the country. Demand for aluminum can products skyrocketed during the pandemic as alcohol consumption rose and breweries shifted to to-go models.
Pretty much everything has gotten more expensive, most notably our packaging. So the aluminum cans and lids and everything, really everything we use connected to the canning of the product.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Reaction today on new procedures for investigating deadly police shootings. County law enforcement agencies will no longer investigate their own officers in these shootings. KPBS reporter John Carroll tells us two major oversight groups say no one told them the change was coming.
Until now, when a sheriff's deputy or a police officer shot and killed someone while on the job, the department that person worked for did the shooting investigation. No more. Now, the San Diego Police Department will do the investigation for deputy-involved shootings. The opposite is true if a San Diego officer is involved in a deadly shooting. All other officer-involved shootings will be handled by the Sheriff's Department. And if both the Sheriff's Department and SDPD are involved in a deadly shooting, Chula Vista Police will conduct the investigation.
The way I found out was I was driving home and I was listening to KPBS.
We learned today that neither the CLRB, the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board, which oversees deadly shootings involving sheriff's deputies, or its counterpart, the CPP, the Commission on Police Practices, which does the same thing with San Diego police shootings, were notified of the new protocol. CPP Chairman Brandon Hilpert says he was shocked. He had no idea the change was coming.
And we have usually quarterly meetings with the chief of police and his staff, and not once have they even given us a heads up that this was coming.
And Yusef Miller with the North County Equity and Justice Coalition told KPBS Midday Edition that the change doesn't go nearly far enough.
We need non-law enforcement affiliated organizations to investigate law enforcement. We anticipate the same results if law enforcement, no matter sheriff or police department when they investigate themselves.
Under Sheriff Kelly Martinez says the move is meant to increase transparency and to build trust with the public. And she rejects the view of Miller and others that police agencies should not be investigating other police agencies. She says the departments are all independent and that no department will have influence over another when it comes to investigations. As for the lack of notification of either the CLRB or the CPP, we contacted both the Sheriff's Department and San Diego PD for a response. The Sheriff's Department sent us an email saying in part that the recent MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, between law enforcement agencies is completely separate from the MOU between sheriffs and CLRB. We didn't get a reply from the San Diego Police Department.
We're not happy with the fact that they chose to sideline the Commission on Police Practices and keep us out of the loop on this.
Hilpert says he's hoping to meet with Chief David Nislight to figure out how the change will impact their investigations because he says now they just don't have any details. John Carroll, KPBS News.
We want to get back out to Petco Park, where the Padres' first home game of the season is now underway. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live near Petco Park with more. Matt?
Amitha, there's a lot of energy out here. It's opening day for the Padres, and people are definitely excited. I want to give you a little bit of a look of what the scene looks like out here. Now, you can see here behind us, this is one of the entrances down here, and look at all the people that are out here. I mean, there is just a ton of people out here for Padres. Lots of Tatis Jr. jerseys, lots of Manny Machado jerseys, Jake Cronenworth. This game is actually just started about 10 minutes ago, and fans are still trickling in. They haven't been able to get in here. And we got a lot of stuff going on here. As we come back out, check this out. We got all the food, all the game day treats you guys want. These hot dogs smell so good. They're wrapped in bacon. These are before you get in the ballpark. There's plenty of stuff inside there. Also today, very cool, the starting pitcher, Joe Musgrove. He's from San Diego. He's from the East County out there in El Cajon, San Diego's own. He's making that big start out here today. A lot of people are really excited to see him down there. Lots of Trevor Hoffman jerseys down here too as well. This game is the first game in the series against the Atlanta Braves that they have going on down here. Unclear if it's a sellout, but a lot of people, they were unsure if there was even going to be a season this year. Remember, we had that lockout in the offseason. A lot of people are just happy that there's some baseball going on. We talked to some business owners. They, too, were on the fence. Remember, they had that shortened 60-game season. Doesn't bring in the kind of revenue that they need to stay open, but they're excited to have opening day back. For a lot of businesses, opening day is the day that they do the most sales of the year, so definitely an important time. A lot of people just looking forward to sitting back, watching some baseball, and not having to worry about other things. Here in downtown Amitha, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Matt. Layla Lee created the comic Angry Little Asian Girl back in 2000. Moments with My Mother is her latest collection of comics, this one featuring the grade school Korean girl and her mother. Here's KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando.
Angry Little Asian Girl speaks to me. Whether it's her views on friendship, life, or humanity, I can identify. Being female and of Asian descent, Chinese on my mom's side, I love how Layla Lee's Angry Little Asian Girl challenges stereotypes about both Asians and women. She created the character of the elementary school girl Kim back in 1994 in both comics and a web series, as she tapped into her bottled-up angst about trying to fit in.
The teacher was quite shocked. Why? You speak English so well. Where did you learn to speak so well? She asked. The little Asian girl was quite offended and mad.
I was born here, you Don't you know anything about immigration? Read some real history books, you stupid ignoramus.
As you can see, she's obviously angry.
But angry in a way where she is put upon and expected to serve everyone and obey everyone but herself. So those are the things that really, I think, made me angry, but I couldn't articulate it. So it's been this long process of drawing comics to sort of unearth what it is and what the reasons were that made me angry and made her angry, because she's sort of like the voice I wish I had. She, I guess, has an ability to discern what is actually really happening and distill it into sharp, short words, and to speak her mind, which are things that I actually do not possess, although I've gotten better at it because of this character.
Each comic is full of biting humor and clever insights that are both intensely personal and entirely universal. For this latest collection of comics, she focuses on her mother and being the daughter of an Asian mom.
Oh, I'll read the Motherly's nursery rhyme. What happened to Mother Goose? No goose, no. Jack and Jill, they go uphill. Jack, he fall down on ground. And Jill too, she fall down. He get up. Jack go home. He no care Jill. He leave her there on hill. So no trust boy. What I'm working out is sort of the, I guess, generational conflict, and also just kind of like the needs that are different from, you know, an immigrant first generation to the children, the second generation. Immigrant parents are so focused on survival, food, clothing, shelter, education. They want their kids to do better than them, and then oftentimes when the immigrant kids get educated, they have new ideas, which I think really frighten the immigrant parents' obedience hierarchy.
Leela Lee's Angry Little Asian Girl has been around for more than 2 decades, winning over fans like me who love humor that makes you both laugh and think. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us, and have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.